All right, we're live, and we're going to talk about a couple of things. But the first is the word sufficient. And that's where I was going to go with this. And then I started reading the third usage, and it went completely different. So let's get into it. Jesus uses the word sufficient three times himself, three times in the New Testament. First is, my grace is sufficient unto thee. And the second is, sufficient to the day is the evil thereof, meaning each day's troubles and trials are sufficient to that day. Don't worry about them tomorrow, because you know what's coming tomorrow. Just worry about what you're in today. Then there's number three, and this one is a little different. And that's what we're going to look at. Luke 14 is where we're going to be. So the first 24 verses, I'm going to paraphrase it. But I want you to read them because it's very interesting. Luke 14, the first 24 verses, paraphrase. Jesus, on the Sabbath day, is going to a Pharisee's house to observe the Sabbath, as he was invited to. And the Bible says, as he's walking in, they are watching him, and they watched him. Meaning they're using this little get together as a way to trip him up, to catch him in something that they might use to discredit him and stone him, get rid of him, because he's got the people in love with him. He sees a man with dropsy and he heals them, and he asks them, is it sin to heal on the Sabbath? And of course, they have to let that go. How can you say healing someone on the Sabbath is a sin? You cannot say healing someone on the Sabbath is a sin and be popular with the people. You cannot do good and call it a sin. So he heals the man with dropsy. But here's the important thing. Because the Bible says, and they watched him as he went into this house. And then they watched him as he healed the man with dropsy. And he asked them, is it a sin? But then it says, he is watching them. So this house apparently has several rooms and tables set up. A lot of people have been invited for this meal to observe the Sabbath. And he is watching them. He sees how the people coming in are seeking out the best seats, the best rooms for themselves, that they might be nearest the seat of honor. And Jesus tells them, don't seek out that honor. Let it be given. Let it be applied to you. And then he gives them the parable of the banquet and how all were asked to come. And then when the banquet was done, everybody was too busy to come to the banquet. So they invited everybody to the banquet, but they didn't wait for the RSVPs. So they went ahead and set the banquet up, but nobody could come. They were all too busy. They were all too distracted. So Jesus says, don't go out and invite the rich and the mighty. Go out and invite the sinners and the beggars to your thing, to your banquet. Now, all of this is a lead up to the next part. Because then one of the guests says, blessed is he that eats in the house of God. And Jesus said something, and then he turns to the multitude. It says, Luke 14:25. And there went great multitudes with him, meaning they were following him everywhere he went. And he turned, so he hasn't all the way into the house yet. And he turned and said unto them, so he's going into the house when all of this happens. And then he turns around and he looks at the multitude and he says unto them, talking to the people, not those in the house that were invited in, the scribes, the Pharisees, the religious elite, what have you. He turns and he talks to the multitudes and he says, if any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. So Jesus, addressing the crowds, the ones that have been following him, the ones that call themselves his followers, he's talking to them. And when he says this, do you think he actually means to hate mother and father and wife and sister and brother? No. He means that he is to be first. His work is to be first. His desires for you, the things he wants you to do, are to be first. If you cannot place him first and foremost in all things, then you cannot be his disciple. You are to no longer seek your desires, your pleasures. You are to be seeking his will, what he desires. And that is the price to be a follower of Christ, to forsake all, follow him. Why? He tells you why, and this is not touched on nearly enough, I don't think. Luke 14:28. For which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first, and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it, lest, haply, after he laid the foundation, and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. How do you build without the money to finish? You can't. You can see it in certain areas that were in a big boom, a growth boom. And they're building buildings, and all of a sudden the reason for the boom is gone. There's no more money, no more promise of a return on investment. The investors pull their money, and you see buildings standing empty, not quite finished. And those companies become a laughingstock. How can you plan to build without funding? How can you plan to build without a plan to build up how much it's going to cost, having that cost, and then having the wherewithal to finish the building? If you did start a building and you did not have the wherewithal to finish it, what does that do to your reputation? Makes you a laughingstock. Folks will know and they will talk, and soon no one will trust you in business ever again. That's what Jesus is saying, following after him as. You got to sit down. You got to get rid of all the distractions. You got to count the cost. Because if you call yourself his follower, you are in it to the end. Because if you fall away, they're going to laugh at him. Not you, him. Because he wasn't able to finish what he started. Or what king going to make war against another king sitteth not down first, and consulteth whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that come against him with 20,000? Or else, while the other, the 20,000, is yet a great way off, he sendeth an ambassage and desireth conditions of peace. What king, before going to war, doesn't look around, count the cost, the resources, not just the resources you have, but the resources you're going to use? Can you sustain that loss and still be viable before they go to battle? Because if you cannot sustain that cost and be viable, then the enemy just has to wait you out and you lose. What king goes into battle? What king looks to go to battle against a superior force doesn't count the cost, doesn't count and see how much sacrifice, how much labor, how many lives are going to be lost before you enter into it. What's acceptable, what's not. Where will I draw the line? What will I fight for? What am I just going to go, okay, you got me. Jesus even says, who, going up against 20,000, a superior force with 10,000, doesn't count the cost, doesn't count the strategy, doesn't look at the battlefield to make sure they can win. If they can't win, when the other army's a long way off, then they offer a truce. They look for a way out of the predicament. So likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he hath, he cannot be my disciple. You got to look at Jesus, assess the cost. You're going to follow him, you're going to lose some things along the way. And if you're not willing to lose some things, you cannot be a follower of his. If you cannot finish the task, he's building a kingdom. He's bringing you in to help. You must finish that task. If you do not, they laugh at him, not you. Whosoever cannot forsake all, count the cost, see what it will take to see it through. If you cannot do it, if you cannot dedicate to it, if you cannot push through to it, you cannot be his disciple, because something, some distraction, some earthly care will pull you away. If you put your hand to the plow and you get half your field done, and then you stop and you never get back to that other half, your neighbors are going to laugh at you. The neighbors are going to wonder what's wrong with you. And they're going to know you didn't count the cost, the labor, the intensity, whatever. You didn't count the cost. You did not weigh the decision fully, and you did not stay faithful to the end. 14:26 again. If any man come to me, hate not his father, mother, wife, children, brethren, sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. You cannot put your hand to the plow and look back. Lot's wife was fine until she looked back. Faithfulness, dedication. You've got to know that your resources, your willpower, your motivation, your dedication is sufficient to finish the job. This is why you must hate mother and father. You must love God and prepare to forsake all and follow through. Why? So that others don't see you dropping the ball. Others don't see you leaving the field of play until the buzzer sounds. He must come first. You have to forsake all. Most people will understand the cost. They will get their family together and they will say, can I do this? Will you support me? And the family will say, we're going to support you. You go do this. But if you don't do that and you enter into the field and you turn and come back, it's not you that gets laughed at. It's him. He must come first. You must forsake all and have your eyes fixed firmly on him. That way there's no distractions. Nothing pulling you away from the field of service. Jesus knew that the world can cause a man to fall out of the way. Jesus knew they would mock, and the enemies of God would mock. Jesus knows we're human. He was human. He gets it. He knows it. But he still expects commitment, dedication, and faithfulness. It's going to be tough. It's a conscious choice. Every single day, it's a conscious choice. I'm doing this. I'm going this way. I'm serving. I'm faithful to the end. If you do not make that choice every single day, you will fall away. Right here, Jesus is telling you the cost. He is telling you the expectations. He's laying out the parameters of the job. And here's the most important part. He's waiting on your choice. He doesn't compel. He doesn't command. He does not force you to serve. He says, hey, this is what we're doing. I died for you. You can come with me. All you got to do is believe. Follow after me. Or you can stay right where you are and go the other way. And then he even tells you where the other way takes you. He gives you all the information, his side and the other side. And he's waiting on you to make a choice. But you cannot be his disciple if you do not forsake all, pick up your cross, which is service to him, and follow after him. Do not say you're going to without counting the cost, without looking at the sacrifices you're going to have to make, without looking what you're going to do without looking at what you're going to miss. You must weigh the cost. Because once you make that decision, once you make that choice to be his follower, his disciple, there's no turning back. That's why it's such a heavy decision. That's why he gave you so much information, so that you know that when you make that choice, you got to stay on that road. You got to stay on that path. It was interesting when he dealt with the Pharisees and the Sadducees. He gave them words of wisdom on the regular basis, and they just never listened. They never understood. Well, he's given you all the information you need. He told you what he expects. He told you the cost. And he told you the duration of service till death. Now, with that information, you've got to make a choice. I think the fact that he even gives you a choice shows you how loving he is. The fact that we have a choice is amazing. We, Adam and Eve in the garden, sinned. We deserve hell because we rebelled against God. But he came and died for us and gave us a choice. We do not give him nearly enough credit just for that. It's time to make that choice. Put your hand to the plow and not look back.